Sons of Anarchy, and the race question. I'm going to give a little introduction to people who aren't familiar with the show, Sons of Anarchy. It's on FX on Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. It's usually an hour-long show. Sometimes they'll have 90-minute specials in there. It is entering its 4th season right now, and it's got rave reviews. It's got a dedicated fan base. It's winning its time slot. It hasn't gotten a lot of Emmy nods because people with Emmys really like Jane Lynch and are really dedicated to a lot more network shows than they are to FX, and it's really it's a show that I equate a lot to The Wire, where it's unappreciated in its time. But to people who don't watch Sons, I'm going to give you a little background on it. Sons of Anarchy are an outlaw biker gang based in the fictional North California town of Charming. They're one-percenters. They're modeled after the real bike gangs like the Hells Angels, Mongols, etc. That we'll see on Geo, Outlaw Bikers. Writer-creator Kurt Sutter strives for this authenticity in his modern retelling of Shakespeare's Hamlet, giving insight into the inner workings about these outlaw gangs, dedicated hierarchical structures that are familiar to any of us in any Masonic or fraternal organization. President, VP, Sergeant-at-Arms, Treasurer, and they've got church, or as the Greek would call it, chapter. They've got bylaws and strict rules of membership. In previous seasons, the Sons have found adversity from various outsiders threatening the tranquility of Charming, California. They faced Mexican gangs, the Mayans, the black gangs, the One-Niners, the white supremacists, and the League of Aryan Nations with Adam Arkin and Henry Rollins having incredible roles in Season 2. Also, rogue DEA agents in Season 1, 2. In the 3rd season, they deal with the Irish Republican Army. They actually have a great location change, and they started talking about some of the real consequences of their gun-running business. And now, in the 4th season, it's a black sheriff and an assistant U.S. attorney who are trying to pin the Sons on RICO charges. It's one of those familiar law enforcement tools, which is familiar to anyone who knows all of the Sopranos and Goodfellas, all these mafia crimes. It's collecting one crime fits an organization. One of the driving plot points this season is the revelation that Juice, our Puerto Rican tech-crazy tech guy who can figure out anything, and on the side, marijuana dispensary owner-operator, Puerto Rican bad boy played by Theo Rossi, or Rossi, I'm sorry, Theo, I mispronounced your name. But there's this revelation that his father's black. So what, you say? Sure, the Sons, it's the 21st century, we got a black president. There's no racism in America left anymore. Well, not so fast. There remain segments and sectors of our racist substructures in the United States. Institutional change doesn't come quickly, and especially not to an organization so steeped in family and tradition and rules and hierarchy like the Sons are. I mean, let's be honest. Let's look at these reflections in our society. How many golf clubs there are still golf clubs that didn't allow black people to play there until Tiger Woods started winning majors, if we're going to be honest. Honestly, in self-reflection, my own fraternity technically didn't allow black people in until 1984. It was still in the national bylaws books. There were earlier proposals in the 60s and 70s, but a movement of brothers, of which former Senator Trent Lott was a part of, put a kibosh on that. And it's embarrassing, but it's a part of our history. As a Southern fraternity, founded by 3 ex-Confederates, it's an unfortunate part. We're not going to be the most proactive. We're not going to be more reactionary. Institutional inertia is a hard thing to shift, a hard thing to change, and with any issue, it's hard to be the change that you wish to see. And I'm not going to claim that 25, 30 years later, all of our chapters are fully integrated. That's just not the case. Institutional inertia is just so deeply entrenched. I'm proud of my fraternity's diversity. In our majors, in our hometowns, in our socioeconomics, in our politics, in our faith practices or lack thereof. I'm not going to say that there's probably some chapters out there that deny bids on the basis of race or on any number of things. Is that fair? Yeah, but it's not my chapter. It's my fraternity, and I can set our guidelines and our rules to follow those things, but that's the way that things are. And it's deep-seated, and it goes deeper than any official rules of fraternity. You change the rules, it doesn't necessarily change what's going on around. But as the president of SAMTAS, Sons of Anarchy Motorcycle Club, Tucson, Arizona, says, it's not your charter, it's not your vote. Just because these bylaws have changed, some realities remain very deeply entrenched. And it's not limited just to my fraternity, or my university, or my hometown. Permeates all facets of life in structural inequality. If we felt guilty about every decision that someone else made, I can only take my own inventory. I could only feel guilty about what I personally have done. Doesn't mean that I'm absolved from the institutional and organizational guilt of that thing. It does mean that I'm not going to do everything that I can to address those issues, those shortcomings that we have. But what it is it's important to acknowledge these structural inequalities that still exist within our society at the deepest, most basic levels. And we can go forward, vow to sin no more, vow to make these changes because they're difficult and because they're the right thing to do. But I digress. If this was really meant to be a vlog post about racial inequality, affirmative action, and all those other things, that would take another hour and a half. But we'll bring this all back together to Sons of Anarchy. Here's my thoughts on the race rule in the Sons. The Sons of Anarchy were founded by Vietnam vets returning to a nation that was torn apart, reeling from the assassinations of Malcolm X, of Dr. King, of Bobby Kennedy, race riots in the streets in '67, especially 1968, when the nation was tearing itself apart at the seams. These men are coming back into a world that has changed, and they see their hometown charming, beautiful, the Redwood, Northern California. They see that as bastion. They want to protect that at all costs. They want to see a world that was lacking this kind of cohesiveness, this kind of beauty, this kind of tranquility, this kind of charm. So the goal of the club was to make partially a utopia, partially to protect their community from these outside forces. Now, how many people in Charming were black in '67, '68? I don't know. It's not part of the fan fiction that I've read up on. But not many, / any, given how we see things in the show now. Up until you get the black sheriff, and his infertile botanist wife move into town, you didn't see a whole lot of brothers around the area. And maintaining that status quo, and that also involved having racial harmony in the 70s. Because in California, part of my knowledge of the history is there's a lot of really divisive things going on in the 70s besides just the Nixon presidency. But seeing a rise in black nationalism and black gangs like the Black Panthers, and that's very scary and that's very threatening to people who want to maintain harmony, maintain the status quo. Also helped the CIA helped undermine black gangs by selling them heroin and getting involved in the drug trade, but that's a whole nother fun vlog post that I have to talk about the Black Panthers. The Sons wanted to keep drugs. They wanted to keep these unfavorable elements out of Charming. So you can understand where that race rule comes from. The best part about this whole plot twist for me is that Kurt Sutter doesn't bring this out in the first season. Doesn't bring it out in the second season. Waits till season 4 when he has a loyal fan base of people who are dedicated to this show and have favorite members of the Sons and have favorite people for different reasons. And we've talked to all our friends about it. We're really gung-ho. We love Sons of Anarchy. We want more people to watch it, more people to see it, and you should talk about it on the water coolers. And you get the best word of mouth, and you're dedicated. I'm sold on Sons of Anarchy and the concept. And all of a sudden, I've been saying all these great things about Sons of Anarchy to all my friends, and they started watching all of a sudden this season 4, and whoa! Let's back up the bus. Sons of Anarchy doesn't allow brothers in there? What the Suter? What Sutter? That's the name of his YouTube cast, which you need to watch because it's hilarious. If you don't mind his vulgarity and crudity. What's up with that? All of a sudden, we're thrown into this intellectual question of, wait, we love the Sons. Now, we can forgive them for being terrible to women, for their gun running, for their criminal, their outlaw nature. We might even be able to forgive them for running coke for the cartel right now. But it's an unforgivable sin in American society right now to be openly racist like this. And it shakes many fans to their core, and it really upsets people. And the sense that I get from Kurt Sutter on Twitter, @SutterInc., is that he loves it. It's great controversy, and it makes people think about these structures. That even these people you love, at the core, they have these inherently racist structures. So what's up with that? He doesn't let us off easily. It's a point that makes you think. It's television that takes you deeper, and that's one of the things that I love the most about Sons of Anarchy. Besides all of his ridiculous twists, and you don't know who's going to die next, and the very Shakespearean elements of the Hamlet story being the driving force behind this, the emotional pain, angst, and anxiety, and the wonderful performances, just the great writing, but just great actors. Charlie Hunnam, Ryan Hurst, Katie Seagal, Ron Perlman, all of these, William Lucking, all these guys. And you can see some alumni from some of my favorite shows, Deadwood. I just started watching again. And so I love seeing some of these characters appear and some of these great actors becoming another great character. So it's really hard for us to kind of set that aside. So you look at that and you say, start reflecting on your own life. Now that I think about that, you didn't see any black people or Asians at your country club until Tiger Woods or VJ Singh or someone started playing. Well, it's one of those things. You start looking at asking questions about redlining and white flight, and you start asking these deeper questions about what is it about this and why the Sons might have this rule, and also why it's so anathema, why it's so unacceptable in our society today. That's what great TV does, is it highlights these questions and it makes you think. So that's one of the great reasons why I love Sons of Anarchy, because it has its timeless storytelling elements and the lines of Hamlet and all these things, but it also has very poignant, very real reflections on our current relations in the United States, and it's a real reflection of what the reality of motorcycle clubs can be. So if you're not watching Sons of Anarchy now, it's on Netflix. It's some episodes are up on Hulu. Start watching it now. 10 p.m. FX on Tuesdays. We've got 3, maybe 4 episodes left in this season. Got a couple more 90-minute episodes, and then they've added another episode to the season because they couldn't fit all of the goodness in it. It's a great show. You should. I wholeheartedly recommend it. It's a great show. And if you're really getting into the show, follow Kurt Sutter on Twitter. Watch WTF Sutter on YouTube. It's something that you can really get deep into, just like some of my favorite HBO shows, The Wire, Sopranos, even other shows on FX like Justified. Love it, love it, love it. Have to watch it. So it's really must watch. Add it to your TiVos and DVRs. So that's all for this week. Peace and all good things.